Coming up today, Korea's National Assembly is operating again, following last week's boycott by the main opposition party over the government's plan to reintroduce state-issued history textbooks. New data from the OECD shows there's been a sharp increase in the prevalence of obesity among boys in Korea. The rate is almost double the same figure for girls. Plus, with early results expected any time now, Myanmar's army chief promises the military will honour the results of Sunday's historic election. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Monday, the 9th of November. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. And we start at the National Assembly, where the Special Budget Committee has resumed deliberations for next year's government budget, with the two main rival parties in attendance. The budget meetings were held twice last week, but with lawmakers from the ruling Nat'l party the only ones present. The main opposition, New Politics Alliance for Democracy, boycotted them last week in protest over the government's move to reintroduce a state-issued history textbook into the nation's secondary schools from 2017. 6 other parliamentary standing committees resumed today as well. The scheduled confirmation hearing for the nominee to be Fisheries Minister is also underway. Now, the National Assembly is back to work, but the controversy continues to simmer over the reintroduction of state-authored history textbooks into middle and high schools around the nation from 2017. The government confirmed its decision last week, but given the level of opposition that is out there, it isn't going to be smooth sailing. Kim Young-gil has this report.
The biggest concern of those opposing state-written history textbooks is that the current conservative government may include favorable descriptions about pro-Japanese and pro-military dictatorship figures in the books. Therefore, experts advise ensuring diversity and neutrality in the writing process.
I think government should be able to recruit very diverse authors representing different age groups and different ideological orientations. And second, they should have really good guideline, which should be a good lighthouse for writing textbook.
According to the professor, the reason for the government to push ahead with the plan of authoring history textbooks was because it wants to address what it calls predominantly left-leaning content in the current books. Currently, 8 kinds of history texts are available. 7 of them are viewed as liberal, whereas the remaining 1 is considered conservative. Thus, the government wants to correct this by reinstating national history texts. But experts are concerned that this decision could disrupt social unity, as opinion polls published last week by Gallup Korea showed that nearly 50% of respondents were against the policy. With opinions further polarizing over the history textbook matter, experts urge the government and rival parties to deal with the situation in a wise and neutral manner.
I think it's good to still open their ears and then pay attention to the voices from the opposition parties and the civic groups and others. I think in both parties and both sides, they should find a middle ground so that they hopefully they find the compromise between their situations.
Experts said that although opposing stances can be constructive and healthy at times as they create room for improvement, the prolonged standoff over the history textbooks should not continue as it could hurt national harmony as well as unity. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Now, President Park Geun-hye has been hosting visiting Icelandic President Ólafur Ragnar Grímsson at the presidential office of Chongwade. During their summit, the two leaders discussed ways to forge deeper ties and strengthen their bilateral relationship, as well as global issues such as climate change and projects related to the Arctic. They also shared views on the current regional situation in Northeast Asia and Europe. This marks the first time for an Icelandic president to visit Seoul since the two countries forged diplomatic ties in 1962. Now, the number of civilian exchanges between Koreans from either side of the border spiked in October. South Korea's Unification Ministry says that, even excluding the recent reunion event for war-separated families, 880 South Koreans visited the north last month. That's more than double the 418 who went during the first 9 months of the year. The ministry attributes the sharp increase to a number of joint events, such as an inter-Korean football friendly and a joint project to excavate an ancient palace in the border town of Kaesong. Experts say the landmark deal in August to defuse inter-Korean military tensions played a big role in the boosted numbers. Now, South Korea, like many other advanced countries around the world, is suffering from a growing rate of child obesity. More than a quarter of boys in South Korea are now considered obese. And this is a much bigger proportion than the number of overweight girls. Sun Jung-in has this report.
Recent OECD data showed the obesity rate among Korean male children aged between 5 and 17 was 26.4% in 2013. This is almost double the rate for Korean girls within the same age group, where the rate was slightly over 14%. In comparison, the average obesity rate for children in the 33 member countries surveyed showed little difference between children by gender, with only 2.2 percentage point gap in the rate. Poland was the only country with a larger gap than Korea. Most other European and Western countries like Germany, France, the UK, Canada, and Australia had relatively narrow obesity rate gaps between genders. Experts here say this trend could be attributed to young girls being under social pressure to conform to idealized body standards, which is considered more serious for Koreans compared to other nationalities. Doctors warn that extreme dieting at an early age can cause osteoporosis, anemia, or menstrual irregularity, and in some cases even cause anorexia. Others stress the need for the government to ensure the mass media restricts people's unnecessary exposure to skinny models or celebrities, a move that is being pushed by other countries, including Italy and Spain. Sun Jung-in, Arirang News.
Now, a new report shows that a 1 percentage point drop in China's gross domestic product could drag down Korea's GDP by up to 0.6 percentage points. The Korea Development Institute says slowing growth in the world's second largest economy would damage Korea's exports and corporate profitability, directly cutting its growth rate by 0.2 percentage points. And as China's growth has a direct impact on emerging economies and the global economy as a whole, the think tank projects an additional cut of between 0.2 and 0.4 percentage points. Now, Korea continues to be relatively inactive when it comes to taking in migrants. According to a recent OECD report, Korea's ratio of incoming migrants to population was 0.13% in 2013, and that is far below the OECD average of 0.62%. This places Korea 20th among the 22 member countries surveyed. Switzerland ranked top of the list with just under 1.6%, and it was followed by Norway and Australia. With Korea's economically active population expected to start falling from 2017 because of the low birth rate we see here, some experts are urging the government to open up its doors to more migrant workers and also refugees. The governance structure of Korea's largest conglomerate, Samsung Group, has been simplified through a series of mergers and asset sales. Market research firm Chaebol.com says the number of the group's cross-shareholding loops have fallen from 10 to 7. Now, these cross-shareholding loops are made when firms are linked through equity investment or asset sales. It added that the recent merger of Samsung C&T and Chael Industries helped solidify the group's governance structure. Watchers say Samsung C&T Corporation helps Samsung Electronics maintain control over the entire conglomerate And this is significant, as Samsung Electronics is the firm in which the controlling E family wields the most power. The chief of Myanmar's army says he hopes the results of Sunday's election will build a strong democratic system in his country. Speaking after casting his vote, the commander promised there would not be a repeat of the 1990 election when the opposition National League for Democracy won in a landslide vote, but the results were not honoured by the military government. Aung San Suu Kyi's NLD is expected to win the most parliamentary seats, although she is barred from becoming president. Votes are still being counted as we speak. The first official results are expected to be issued sometime today, so we will bring you the latest during our next newscasts. Security officials in Egypt and the United States are expressing growing confidence a bomb scattered a Russian plane across the Sinai Peninsula more than 1 week ago now. All the evidence seems to point to a device planted by the Islamic State militant group. Oh Soo-young has the latest.
9 days have passed since the crash, but the world still waits for the official report on what caused the Russian Metrojet plane to crash in the Sinai Peninsula. However, it's becoming increasingly apparent to many that the plane came down as a result of a bomb. Even Egypt, which has been calling for patience until the probe is over, says it's 90% sure a bomb brought the plane down. The investigators' remarks come less than a day after Cairo said a noise consistent with that of an explosion had been heard on the black box just before the plane broke up in mid-air.
Successfully downloaded, and the first listening was done. Although the CVR team is still in the phase of writing the transcript, which will take time to finalize, a noise was heard in the last second of the CVR recording.
US security experts are also voicing strong suspicions that it was a terrorist attack. Michael McCall, chairman of the US House Homeland Security Committee, said there was a high degree of confidence the Islamic State militant group or one of its affiliates planted a bomb on the airplane. Another official said he was 99.9% certain it was a bomb. International security experts had initially dismissed IS's claims that its local branch had downed the plane. To identify the nature of the noise, Egypt's lead investigator said a spectral analysis will be carried out by specialized labs. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Now, Hyundai Motor and its affiliate Kia Motors were the top-selling foreign brands in Germany in October amid an overall drop in demand for imported cars there. Data from a German automobile association shows the combined sales of the two Korean brands surpassed 14,000 units last month. Hyundai Motors sales inched up 0.4% on year to over 9,000 units. Kia's sales spiked more than 4% to over 5,000 units. Now, this comes despite an on-year drop of over 5% in imported car sales in Germany. Scandal-ridden Volkswagen saw its sales drop at home by 0.7% from last October, despite a rise in the combined sales of German brands. Staying with German auto brands, BMW owners in Korea are growing increasingly concerned after another BMW caught fire over the weekend. This marks the third time in the space of a month that a BMW has burst into flames on the road. The BMW 7 Series model caught fire on Sunday afternoon at a toll gate in Gyeonggi-do province just south of Seoul. You've seen the aftermath there. Fortunately, no one was hurt and the blaze was put out within 10 minutes. Now, the cause is still unknown, but firefighters suspect that it could have been linked to the battery somehow. Korea's Transport Ministry recalled the German automaker's 520D models in September, citing defects in engine components, but it's not yet known if the fires are linked. That's another one of the fires linked to this. BMW Korea has yet to issue a statement. Now, a Korean research team has tweaked its technology for high-capacity lithium-ion batteries, and the breakthrough should enable electric cars, but also smartphones, to run much longer on a single charge. Park Se-young has this report.
Eco-friendly electric cars and smartphones that last days without charging require high-efficiency, large-capacity batteries. Now, a research team from Korea has developed the technology to create such batteries using negative electrodes made of silicon, iron, and titanium.
We developed the alloy using the abundant iron and titanium, and this alloy lasts for much longer than the initial silicon films.
The key to this new technology is preventing the swelling of silicon. Silicon can hold up to 10 times the capacity of carbon rods in existing batteries, but charging a lithium-ion battery with a silicon anode causes it to expand up to 400%. The constant expanding and shrinking over charge cycles causes the silicon to fracture. However, the newly developed alloy does not swell because a research team created it by combining metals that do not react to silicon or lithium. Coin cell batteries with the alloy maintained high capacity and boasted a charging efficiency of 99.3%.
High-capacity batteries that are small and light do not only go into small electronics. We expect them to help advance the wearable and electric car industries.
The researchers are preparing to apply for a patent for their technology, and the study has been published in the online version of the journal Advanced Energy Materials. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. We do hope your week is off to a flying start, and thank you as always for tuning in. Goodbye.